Hey, how y'all doing? This is your boy Greg. Just want to do another video. So the theme of this video here is how big of a sports fan are you? And I asked that because I've been hearing a lot of people talk about things like college basketball used to be good, but it's not good no more. The only thing relevant in college is the women's game. I want to single out any one person out that says stuff like that, but there's been several general sports analysts who have kind of just made these type of comments and whatnot. And that's no knock on the women's game, even though I don't think the women's game is as good as the men's game because the players aren't as good. But I do enjoy certain players in the women's game. Obviously, most people like Caitlin Clark, including me. She's fun to watch. I like Juju Watkins. I think she's an exciting player at USC who's only a freshman, and she's going to be a great player. She's already a great player. So I got no knock on the women's game. I watch it sometimes, and it's cool. But to compare it to the men's game is just absolutely ridiculous to me because the men players are just flat out better. All right, I could watch like a lower level college basketball game and have a better quality basketball than the top LSU versus South Carolina type women's game. So I just think that's just so stupid. But that's just me. And I just think I was not, like I said, the point of this video is not to knock the women's game. Like I said, I don't have a problem watching women's sports. I watch women's tennis. I watch women's soccer. I watch women's basketball from time to time. But I'm just trying to understand people who, like, if you don't like college basketball, I understand. Like, it's not for everybody. Sports isn't for everybody. But I'm talking about people who, like, cover sports or saying stuff like this. They're like, oh, well, I don't pay attention to college sports until March. Okay, so honestly, like, if you have that type of mentality, my thing is, like, how big of a fan or how big of a fan are you? How much do you really like sports, dude? You know, if you can only watch sports because there's some really hyped up player coming out of high school and he's supposed to be the next great thing and I'm interested in that. And are you really like a college basketball fan? No, you're like a big story groupie. And I think there's a difference between like people who like big stories in sports and, or follow big trends in sports and people who just like sports. Like today I watched college basketball pretty much all day today on Saturday. And it was fun. It was good. It was like you saw different teams. You saw different, I watched Kentucky blow out, who they blow out? They blew out Alabama. And then I watched Seton Hall. I'm a Seton Hall fan. I saw UConn do their thing. It was a lot of good games on today, and there's a lot of good players out there. There's a lot of good stories that people are just, I feel like I'm missing on because they, you know, and one thing that was going on today too is that, Duke has been playing great basketball. Usually people just follow Duke because Duke is the it team and nobody's really been paying attention to Duke this year. I feel like the only time people talk about Duke is when they lose, including today. And it wasn't the fact that they lost that made them a story, which actually should have been the stories of the fact they lost. It was the crowds leaving, the crowd bum rushing the court after the Duke lost. And that became a story instead of like a big Duke team getting upset by Wake Forest. Kyle Filipowski got ran over by a bunch of students. And so they're like, oh, should we let people rush the court anymore? Should we let people rush the court? And I hope he's not hurt. But, I mean, come on, man. Like, first of all, if you wanted to talk about that story, I don't know about anybody else, but it looked like to me when people were like rushing the court, he stuck out his arms and he was trying to knock somebody down, and dudes like just kind of pushed him over. And but again, I don't want to make that the main story because it's just like, why are we talking about that and not the actual game? It's like these reporters and these like media people do anything to talk about anything else but these games, other than maybe football. And it's just like unbelievable to me that people do this stuff. And it's just like, yo, when are we going to get back to actually covering games? They will find any excuse not to actually talk about the games because these dudes don't watch the games, dude. I actually thought that this dude on my Twitter feed made a great point. Last year, the Nuggets were the best team in basketball. Oh, and they were, they had Jokic, and Jokic was having a historical year because he was doing all the triple-double stuff and whatnot. And they would not talk about this guy all throughout the season, and the excuse was that we can't take them seriously. And because, we already know about the whole situation with the Western Conference Finals, and they had just beaten Phoenix, and they were clearly favored over the Lakers, and all they did was basically talk about the Lakers. They made every storyline about the Lakers. They gave the Nuggets no respect whatsoever. And they're doing the same thing this year, but the excuse is that not that they haven't proven themselves because they won a championship. The excuse is now, oh, well, they're a proven commodity, so we don't need to talk about them. So this is what I'm saying. Are you a fan of sports or not? Like, my boy, who's actually a big sports fan, but he's like excited about Victor Wembanyama, and I'm trying to let him know, like, yo, why are you trying to get to the Victor Wembanyama era? Nikola Jokic is still playing. Like, why are we not talking about him and what he's doing in his era? This is we gotta like start like kind of giving people the props they deserve when they actually do stuff on the court. And they even if they're not players that we find entertaining, like there's people who need to get the credit that they deserve, man. I understand, like it should be, game by game and then postseason by postseason, and then we should be giving people the credit that get the job done. Nikola Jokic is getting the job done. A lot of the people in college are getting the job done. Why are we not talking about these games, man? That is my biggest problem in sports right now. It's not that big of a problem when football season comes because most people like football, and they'll get into breaking games down and breaking players down for the most part. But man, I tell you, once football season leaves and nobody wants to talk basketball, and it's like nobody knows anything about. They'll talk about every NBA fight. They'll talk about when NBA players start doing political talk or whatever, or they'll talk about any Twitter beef, but they won't talk about the actual games. Like, it's just confusing to me, man. Like, I just miss the Sports Center era when, like, you would go through every highlight of every game and you would see who did what, and it would just be like, or it would just be so much more informative and it's just more centric about why we like sports in the first place. Just getting back to my original point about college basketball, man, like, there's so many good players that are playing. I think Kentucky's a great story because they've been struggling all year. Looks like they're just starting to figure it out, and I think they're just starting to kind of get their groove. And they, like I said, they blow out Alabama today, and Alabama's a top 15 team, and I think they're going to win it this year. I think Kentucky's going to win the championship this year. I think Calipari, everybody's trying to run him out of town. Everybody's trying to make it seem like he can't coach, can't build a good team no more, can't do nothing, whatever. And again, I just think that comes from an ignorance of people really not like following these teams, because if anybody knew what was going on with the Tyrese Maxey situation, I mean, not the Tyrese Maxey, I'm talking about when he had Tyrese Maxey and the dude that was on the Knicks, who's on the Raptors now, Emmanuel Quickly, that team was looking like they were ready to go, ready to go for a deep run, if not win the championship that year. And then the years after that, they had Shaden Sharp come early to Kentucky, and he was supposed to play early and then play another year because he came out early, and he was supposed to, be a part of both those teams. And Shaden Sharp was a top 10 pick, and he would have helped those teams a lot because he's a top prospect, top athlete, good shooter, great offensive player. Probably going to have a great long NBA career, but he did some real shady nonsense with Calipari and basically enrolled early and then used that year to basically become eligible to the NBA draft, and then he left before he ever played a game with Kentucky. So basically they lost, he screwed over basically two teams. And obviously last year's team was a disappointment, and then they got this great recruiting class, and they've been figuring it out, and it looks like they're just starting to get it together now. And I think people are going to really regret, doubting. I don't think they're really going to regret doubting him and making it seem like he can't coach no more, because I think they have the most talent by far, and I think that a lot of them are just starting to get together. Justin Edwards had an amazing game today. Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepard have been good all year. Reeves, they don't have Trey Mitchell yet because of injury. And, they're just putting everything together, man. They look really good. And it's these type of stories should not just be stories that college basketball people are talking about. What else is going on right now? If you want to talk hockey, cool. You want to talk, some soccer, cool. But, I thought in America basketball was like a pastime here. There's no baseball going on. Football is done. If you like sports, why would you not want to talk basketball? And it's these people just don't want to talk basketball. They'll bitch and moan about the All-Star game, but they don't want to talk about a good college season or whatever. In fact, during the All-Star weekend, I was mostly watching college basketball because I don't want to watch the All-Star break. And I actually agree with most of the people who said the All-Star weekend stinks. And that's why I pretty much watched all college. And it's people don't want to talk about these things. And it's just very frustrating to me because it's we're all supposed to be, who are in the whole sports fans community, we're supposed to like sports and whatnot. But it's I would expect the people who are at least paid to watch sports at least bring these stuff up, and they don't. Or these players who do these podcasts, these retired players, a lot of these dudes stink, man. I'm just I don't understand. These guys don't really know nothing. They really don't bring really much to the table other than personal stories and kind of their own experiences, which is cool and everything like that. And obviously only they can do stuff like that, and they take advantage of that. But it's they're really kind of exposing themselves as how bad they are at breaking down these games and whatnot, man. They don't know what they're talking about. They're bad. A lot of them are bad. Some of them are okay, but the majority of them are just joke tellers. They're not really, they cannot really tell you much that you can't read outside of a stat sheet. And a lot of these guys, again, are not watching all these games. I don't really understand these people who want to, you want to do a podcast talking about, basketball, but you're not watching the games, dude. So, that's just my frustration with kind of where we are in sports, and specifically basketball, because I love basketball, probably my favorite sport, and I wish it was more popular, and I think it should be more popular, but, that's more of an NBA issue with the rules and how they're doing things. But the people who say they are basketball fans, it's dude, if you're going to get on a podcast, you're going to get on YouTube or something like that, or if you're going to be on regular ESPN or whatever and act like you break down these games or whatever, you're supposed to be a general critic or analyst or whatever, you got to give me something more than, oh, well, nobody follows college basketball until March. We'll follow the tournament. I don't even want to follow a guy who has that type of mentality. Why you're going to pick up everything and learn the whole season in a week and then try to act like you're some expert? Because, that's crazy, dude. Anyway, it's just my 2 cents on it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.